So I had done the meditations, and I had really started to make ground with the hemisync. That's where you fire at both sides of your brain. It was a CIA thing. This is for entertainment purposes only. And it's a meditation system that'll rock your world if you do it right. I'm a 25. I stopped at 25. That was as far as, I went. I don't know it's as far as I'll ultimately go, but it's as far as I did go so far. And one moment. It's just not the same as a cigarette. I'd had this meditation though, and I had the, when you meditate, I could always get to this point and then fall asleep. Like the Black Sabbath song, Behind the Wall of Sleep. You get to that point and you just cross over and into REM sleep or whatever. And with the hemisync system, I learned how to get rid of a lot of baggage, number one. I learned how to focus, number two, on my intentions and whatnot. And number three, it'll take you into the astral realm without the use of any chemical aids needed. Like really, really into the astral realm. Because when you're doing this and approaching it with the right amount of honor and integrity and respect, and you're doing the work, you're fasting, you're doing all the little things that you find along the way that further aid in your purification, because like Crowley said, anything aside from making contact with your holy guardian angel should be considered a black magic working. That's right, Boldit. It is about purification. There's a lot of it. And that's the test, is can you do it? Can you do it? Can you climb the tree without eating the fruit off the tree? Because you can go one way with the Crowley system, but there's another way too. Crowley was all about excess and about burning away all that stuff. That's climbing into the crucible, which is necessary too. You got to burn away those impurities. And you're not doing it. Source is doing it. Source is doing it. There's a story about these ladies at a Bible meeting, and there's I think it's a proverb or a psalm that they run across that says that he sits as a silversmith. He sits as a silversmith. I can't remember the exact quote now, but it's referring to God sitting as a silversmith with us. And it confounded them, and they didn't really know what it, they kind of thought they knew what it meant, but there was some confusion. So the one lady, the head of the group, we'll say, called up a silversmith and said, "Hey, I want to come observe what you do this week for our Bible study." And he was like, "Sure, come on over." And she went over and she watched him do all this, stuff. And at a certain point, he had to hold this silver right in the blue part of the flame and stare at it the whole time it was in there and do something with his hands that he hadn't had to do previously. And it gave her pause. And she was like, "So why do you do that?" And he was like, "Well, this is the most important part. I got to keep it in the hottest part of the fire and burn away all the impurities. And if I take my eyes off of it for a second, all could be lost." And she was like, "Whoa," it like rocked her world. And she's like, "Well, how do you know when it's done?" And he's like, "When I can see my reflection in it." That's pretty profound. So it's all about the, getting rid of the impurities. Then once you get rid of them, you learn from it, you gain wisdom, and you know not to go there. And with proper discernment, you know well in advance not to go there, not to even test yourself to go there. So I was doing the meditations, and my brother showed up. We were outside, and he goes, "Hey, man," and I had noticed it that night the night before. It was 2 days. That when I went out my back door to have my nightly cigarette by the woods and do my walk and my meditation, and I was building my how I was focusing with my affirmations and whatnot on the dog track that I'd built. We had 1.5 acres back at the scary part of the woods where I knew I wouldn't be bothered. I could go and do this meditative walk. So that's what I did. And when I came back, I noticed this gold triangle in the eastern sky. Like I said, we're a farming community. You know, it's not all light pollution out there. You can see pretty good. And my brother rolls up, and we're talking, and he bums a cigarette like he was prone to doing. And I could tell he had something on his mind. And we're talking. He keeps looking up at that spot. And he goes, "Hey, man, what the hell is that?" And I was like, "You see it? You see it too, right?" I was like, "I just thought it was a planet or something." He's like, "Nah, I don't think that's a planet, man." He's like, "It looks like it's here. It's in our shit. It's not out there." I was like, "Yeah, I kind of got that vibe too." I said, "That's what they call a synchronicity." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Nothing." And we talked a little bit more about what it could be. And then he had to go get the kids, and he left. And about an hour went by, and I went out to have another cigarette, and another car pulls in. It's a friend of mine I haven't seen in over a year. He only comes to see me like once a year. And he lives like just a couple blocks of fucking way. Sorry. And he said the same thing. He came up to me and he goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "I was just driving by." He goes, "Did you see that up there?" And I was like, "What?" And I played dumb like I didn't know what he was talking about. And he goes, "Yeah, man, I noticed it yesterday." He goes, "It just seemed to appear up there, man. Looks like a triangle." It's the same thing my brother had said too. Joe had said that. I was like, "Yeah, it is kind of weird, man." I said, "I saw it, the other night when it first came up." So now I got 2 people that noticed it the first night, and I know I'm not losing my mind. Synchronicity, affirmation, it is what it be. So I went in, I did my meditations that night. I got to go back because there's a roll of pictures I'm going to put up too. I'm going to be flooding my thing if you watch this with stuff that has to do with what we're talking about on here today. And then I had 2 more really interesting things happen. Number 1, I had a encounter when I was out front doing my abramelin working. I did a lot of it out in front of the house between 11:45 p.m. and 2 a.m. and then 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. and then 8 a.m. Well, about 7:30 a.m. to, depending on the time of year it was, because we crossed over there. But I was getting a lot of really interesting affirmations, but this one in particular was a very big one. And there is another accompanying video too that I got to check the audio on, and then maybe I can post it. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I can send that one. I had my lease run up on my car then around that same time. And my ex was like, "Go make sure that everything's out of it." Well, I did. And then the next night, when it was actually going to be leaving in the morning and I was going to get the new vehicle, we had an argument, and she's like, "Go out and clean that vehicle out." And I was like, "I already did last night." And it turned into a whole thing. And I was like, "You know what? Forget it. I'll just go smoke a cigarette and just get away." And I went out to the car. And when I went out, I just opened up the glove box. And when I opened up the glove box, there was an envelope with an arrow pointed at me. Huh? Ruh-roh, Raggy. Now, I got 360 security at that house and everything. The car has an alarm. And ask anybody that knows me. There's nothing I hate more than an unlocked footlocker. If it wasn't for dickheads like you, Pile, there'd be no thievery. I keep everything locked. Tight. So I went in, and it was something for my vehicle, and my mentor didn't know anything about it. And somebody had gotten through all my shit and put this in my vehicle. And I was like, wow, that's really wild. And then I got an affirmation, and then I got direct contact and was told to just stick it on my vehicle and roll with it. You're in the club now. And I was like, okay, cool. So I did. Continued on with my life as normal. And then I had two strange things happen again. They seem to be coming in twos. And I hadn't been pulled over in a minute. And I got pulled over speeding. I couldn't figure out why I was driving so slow. I didn't see the steady everybody else saw, and they were all in the slow lane, so I just blew doors on everybody, doing like 95 in my Blazer. And when I cut to the front of the line to get off at my exit, he was already there, and everybody got in the other lane laughing probably. And he rolled up and did all my stuff, and I was good to go because I'm clean. And then it happened again. And I caught two, warnings without catching heavy tickets for heavy speed. Well, one, I cut the line because someone hit my windshield with a rock. But it just seemed like once I don't know, once I was told I was I was in. And everything changed for the better, really. I was already, like I said, going through a divorce. It was inevitable. We just didn't know what the date was going to be yet because we were doing a disillusionment. And after 16 years, but we'd only been married on paper for, I think, 7. We were right at the number or something. But we were able to make it go. And, that was that. And one of her, I guess, positive things that she said to me on her way out was, if there could be such a thing said, was, why are you so positive now? Like, you've been more positive in the last 2 weeks after losing the election than I've ever seen you. Whatever it is, keep doing it. Keep doing it. And I just laughed because I knew I was going to keep doing it. And the meditations were getting really intense with Amun-Re, because once you get comfortable in that space, those neural pathways open up. And once those neural pathways are open, well, it's on. You can go right there, right then, right whenever. And what's really cool is I met another guy that was into chaos magic, Sean, out in LA, and he gave me a really good trick when we started talking about gnosis. I'm going to pass it along to you now, which is why the whole point of why we went as long as we did today in 2 videos. Salt. If you just get some salt and put it in a little thing that's dedicated just for your meditations, that makes it special, Off to the side, you could say your prayers over it, your affirmations over it, make it special. And then whenever you go to meditate, you can literally, at the point of gnosis, pause and take a taste of salt. Have it on your palm already. And it will mark that space and time and place. And the next time you go, it's easier to get into gnosis because you can just take that taste of salt and it'll trigger it. Works like a charm. Works like a charm. You won't be disappointed. And then I went out front on the porch because that's where, again, I was doing my Abramelin working, which was separate in a way from what I was doing in practical application on another hand. But not, because nothing's separate. It's all connected all at once. There is no past. It doesn't exist anymore. There's no future. It hasn't happened yet. All we have is now. So I'm saying my affirmation out front. I love the light. I bless the light. I love the light. I bless the light. And I'm picturing Source, Ein Sof Or, behind the spark, the brightest of the light, and absorbing into it. And I hear this sound in my left ear, like a jet engine from a distance. That sound that you hear when they fly over the house. And I was like, wow, what is that? And then at my 11 o'clock, which was where my mother and father lived, in proximity to where I was at, this ball of light shoots up out of the field from behind their house, it looks like. because it's between me and there's a 5G tower on the hill, and it's between us in that space. And I was like, okay, what the heck is this? And I ran in and got my phone and I got the video. That's the one I want to put up. And it, whatever this was, flew right towards me. And I'm thinking, this can't be. My mind is rationally trying to say that this is not happening right now. This can't be happening. What the hell is happening? And then it banks between me and my neighbor's house. And it is a perfect golden triangle. And then it goes right over City Hall and pauses. And I don't know how long I heard it. I want to say for about 15 minutes I sat, I had another cigarette, and was like, what is happening right now? And I was like, this is really, really real. Really, really real. And you start to question your sanity with some of this stuff. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. You gotta be pretty strong mentally to even fool with some of this stuff, because it's not for fooling with. That's not the right word either. These things are not for the idly curious. That's for sure. Because you could really bring chaos into your home and into your being, yourself. You'll throw things askew. You'll throw your vibration off. Everything's vibration. It's all about raising the vibration. Raising the vibration. We receive freely to give freely to creation. Mm-hmm. I'm leaving a lot out, but we can always go back and revisit, which we may end up having to do. It's a very solitary road, and I know a lot of people are depressed right now. I see it in the collective. A lot of people are worried right now. A lot of people are, you can feel it. You can feel it. If you're dialed in to the ether right now, you can feel the disturbances. For me right now, it's a lot of bipolar feelings, a lot of ups, but mostly downs, and seasickness. I haven't heard anyone else mention it, but there's a seasickness feeling I get. I had it real strong the other day, the same day as a friend of mine, a real good friend of mine, and it was earthquake. That's only the second time that's ever happened to me in my life, but it was the same feeling, that seasickness. Like you can feel the plate tectonics beneath your feet moving around. But now it's almost like all the time. My abramelin working went and really continues. It doesn't really stop, okay? It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. That kind of thing. So once you integrate with the Holy Guardian Angel, and you'll see in your meditations, things will just fall into place. They'll fall into line. And you'll fire up those chakras. And then once the crown chakra's fired up and, the lotus, opens up, that's all she wrote. There is no going back. There ain't no going back. That's right, boo. Huh? There ain't no going back. No, you can't unsee it once you see it. It's beautiful. Then that's all you want, huh? We receive freely to give freely. We receive freely from Source to give freely to all of creation. Selfless love. It's the hardest one. I don't care what anybody says, because it involves forgiveness. Best of luck. Best of luck on this road. Things are not always as they seem. And whether you pick the left hand or the right hand, They both go to the same light in the middle. Have a great Friday.